Yeah, yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. So, good morning to everyone who are all presenting there on YouTube and who all are waiting for the this AWS User Group in Indore. So, I Prithviraj Singh Solanki. Uh, I am AWS Solutions Architect Associate and AWS UG Indore organizer. Along with me, I have invited Parth Purvesh and Rohini Gaonkar, who have joined us today in this first meetup or pilot meetup. Also, Suman Debnath will join us in some time. So, finally, this is the user group that we are planning, and this is the community that we are planning since 1 year, and that dream has come true. And today we are in the very first pilot event. So, uh, what is community, what is user group, and what these things will do and how they work. This will be explained by Parth Purvesh in some time. So I would like to Parth Purvesh to start the event, to start the
Good
event.
morning, Prithvi. Good morning. How are you doing, man?
Good morning. I'm good, Parth.
Yeah, hello everyone who has joined, everyone who would be joining in due course, everyone who would be watching this 1 year, 2 year later from now. Um, First of all, welcome and congratulations to AWS User Groups Indore. We had a dream, I guess me and Prithvi both could so say this. We had a dream 3 months ago. Let's start a user group. And then step by step, everything just fell into place. It has been quite a journey, to be honest. We've had our own bits of complications also, like starting a user group in the time of a lockdown uh, is a bit difficult, but like we managed and finally we're here. So yeah, welcome everyone, welcome to AWS User Group Indore. It is a definite pleasure for having everyone here. Prithvi, you've done a fabulous job, man. I'll just quickly go around and give a short introduction to what AWS is and what AWS communities are. I've not prepared a very versatile presentation because I honestly am not a personal fan of presentations, but I try to do my level best to get you all in the mood of what this is and why we are so excited about it. So, before everything else, I would like to start with my own introduction. So, I'm Parth Purvesh. I'm a student. I'm pursuing BTech in Information Technology from MSIT Kolkata and BSc in Programming and Data Science from IIT Madras. I'm a community leader for AWS India, user group leader in AWS Ranchi, and a community builder for the fall 2020 cohort. This is my Twitter. If you want to follow, if you don't want to follow, it's pretty cool. I don't tweet anyway, but we did need to give some social links so you could connect with me if you want to. Um, Moving ahead, so what is AWS? Why should you care? Is one question that I've been getting a lot from my peers when I started AWS User Group Ranchi last year. One of the big things that comes to mind when we think about AWS as people who have been knowing about this field and working on it for quite some time now is that AWS is the world's largest cloud computing services provider, and that is the proportion of how huge this is just unimaginable. It hosts and supports over 40% of all the cloud services on the internet. 40% is a very huge number. Um, think about think about it like this. All the data you're receiving, everything that is hosted on cloud, 40% of it is supported from AWS. It is that huge. And probably I've given a list of famous customers for Netflix, and this list is so huge. I guess you would know all these companies, and these are some of the biggest Fortune 500 companies or even 200 companies in the world right now. You can see Netflix, Spotify, Discovery Network, Flipkart, Pinterest, Samsung, Nokia, Nasdaq, Infosys. There are probably 500 huge companies that AWS supports with its cloud services, and and that is something very unimaginable for someone who does not know what AWS is. Um, so this was the introduction to AWS. Why exactly? why exactly should people care then? Why exactly would we care if AWS is such a huge company? So the first of it, since Prithvi is a student member of the community, and Prithvi and I am a student member too, our goal is to get a good direction in our careers. And so learning a skill that is so in demand right now is definitely a huge boost for our careers. This is one. Apart from this, I'll tell you about the communities in the next slide. Yeah. So let's talk about user groups now. We have over 400 dedicated user groups in India, and we have 22 user groups in India. I'm not sure about the exact number. Rohini would confirm if I'm wrong, but we have around 22. We have had three or four user groups come up in the community over the past 1 year itself. And what do these developer communities, what do these user groups do? So the biggest pro is to communicate, collaborate, and learn, to network with people, peers, and build things that actually matters for the community as a large, the community as in not only the AWS community, but humankind as its whole. So we've been in this community. I started our community last year in July, I guess, July or August it was. So it was a huge journey for me as well. And let me tell you a story. Let me tell you how I began with AWS. So I was in my first year of college back in 2019 August, and I was in Kolkata at that point of time. So I thought, okay, let's look around for meetups, because college is boring, to be honest. If anyone from my college is watching, please exit this video right
And
now.
you are correct. I have the same thought in regards to Acropolis.
Yeah, man. So, if anyone from MSIT is watching, please don't suspend me. Okay, so this is what I thought actually, and I was looking for communities in my domain. So up till then, what I did was I worked in the Android open source community as a high schooler, and that was pretty fun for me because I did development and stuff. So I looked around for communities in AWS. Kolkata was one of the premium communities in Kolkata, the premium tech communities in Kolkata. So I went around, and there was one guy who I was very inspired with. Probably Rohini would know him. He moved to Singapore last year. His name is Chirag Nair, and he's a very very fun guy to talk with. His sessions are really really fun, and he has this unique style of presenting, which is just his niche. He can say anything, and you would quietly listen to him. I was very inspired by Chirag. He is one of the best cloud guys I've ever met. I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's enter in this field. Uh, in the due course of 2 to 3 months, I learned concepts. I did a couple of speaker sessions for AWS Kolkata. We organized a meetup in our college as well. Um, we had around 100 members in our college, and then the dream came of let's start a new user group in Ranchi, because that is my hometown and stuff. So then the Ranchi user group started. We persisted a lot. User group Ranchi was like dreamt of in November 2019. It came to reality in July because of the lockdown happened, and we couldn't do the logistics and traveling and everything. So this was our journey with AWS Ranchi. It has been a hell of a journey, but it has been really fun, really fun. We've been doing bi-monthly meetups in 2 months. Yeah, bi-monthly meetups, and we've been enjoying this process a lot. And I wish the same to Prithvi and everyone who would be joining AWS Indore as members or as organizers. Uh, to move on, this is probably the last slide that I have. What is in for you in the community? Why should you join as a community member? You know what AWS is. You can trained, get certified. But why should you join the community as such? So the biggest perk as of now, since Indore is a community that has just come up, you can join the organizing team along with Prithviraj. He's right now he's probably working alone as a community leader. You can definitely join you
Yeah,
can definitely
exactly.
join. Yeah, you can definitely get in touch with him, join the community in Indore, and have fun in building the community together, in learning together. You don't need to be an expert, to be very honest, to start a community or to be a co-leader. All you need to have is a passion to learn, a passion to collaborate, and that is all that matters. That is what I have learned in the past year or so. So the second one is attending meetups, learning something new, practicing and growing your knowledge. So my reason for attending meetups in the beginning was free pizzas. We got free pizzas in Kolkata, and that was my reason for attending free meetups. But yeah, the other things come with it, like learning new things and practicing and growing your knowledge with pizzas, obviously. So we can't say no to pizza. No, no. Also hostelers, so we know how good free food is. Mm, Attend meetups, learn new things, practice, grow, get swags. We do get as community leaders, as community builders, we do get separate sets of swags. But as members as well, you would get laptop stickers and notebooks and pens and everything, whatever your community decides to. So you can join the community and get some swags for yourself. That is totally welcome. Mm, the third thing is very important, and this is something that I've been hearing from not only from people from India, since the Community Builders program is a program which has been over the world. So I've had friends from UK, friends from Canada, and they've been really happy of how much networking opportunities they get when they join the program as members and as community contributors. Leveraging networking is one of the biggest thing, as you would realize when you're in the senior years of your college or in the starting years of your career. Leveraging network opportunities to get career boosts and to get opportunities, or to just connect with people and learn from them, is something that is very underrated. People don't talk about it this often, but the importance is truly mind blowing. I can say this from personal experience. Prithvi will tell you about this. We've had many networking opportunities. Like every time I have a doubt with a CFP that I'm submitting, I'd go to Rohini and ask, okay, what should I do here? What should I do here? We would have a call, and this is something how you learn. Okay, this is the way we learn, and this is the way everyone learns, by gaining the expertise. By absorbing the expertise of any senior that you have in your field. This is one. This is the third one. The fourth one is participating in CFPs. So CFPs are call for papers or call for proposals, as you might know. CFPs for people, like we do have community level events in the user group itself. So you would have community level events in Indore. You would have community level events in across, like in your region as well. So maybe you can have an event in Delhi and you can attend that as well. You can have community level events in all across the country. There is a regional wise event. There is a worldwide event, and every single event, until it's a very high level event, every single event publishes its CFPs, call for papers. So you want to present something, if you have an amazing idea and you would like everyone to hear it, it should not be like totally related to the topic of AWS. It can be a bit deviated from it, but the point is it must be relevant to AWS. It must be something that people actually can build upon using the platform and maybe create something. So participate in CFPs, become a speaker, and becoming a speaker is a huge boost to whatever you're doing. Being a member is one, but being a speaker is like a whole another level of privileges that you get. Two pizzas, that is the privilege I'm talking about. You can get more pizzas. The fourth one is be a part of AWS Community Day. So back when our user group started, we had Community Day coming up in a couple of months. So we couldn't participate a lot in the Community Day in 2020. But this year, Community Day happens in fall every year. It would be in September or October. I'm not really sure. But Community Day is a huge countrywide event. There is reInvent, which is a worldwide event. It's a 4 day long event. This year it happened online, but every year it's a 4 day long event in Las Vegas. And you could get invited if you are a speaker. If not, you can pay for yourself and go to Las Vegas, or you can ask your company to pay you and go. So it's a fun event. AWS Summit, which is coming up in a couple of months. It is an India-wide event, and it would feature speakers from all across the country. It is a great event as well. And then there are many other events which would be coming up, where you can learn, you can speak, you can leverage all your networking opportunities. These are the biggest things that the community gives you, to be honest. So I guess that was all in my presentation. I don't make a huge presentation anyway. So let's go back to the first screen which I created. Yeah. So this is the first screen. I guess I'll wrap up with the fact that um okay, let me tell you one more thing. One, there is the community leader program which Prithviraj is a part of. I'm a part of. We are community leaders for different cities in the country, and we represent our cities, our regions to a countrywide level. If you join it, there are definite perks, more perks you would know when you join the program. Actually, there are many more perks than I can actually tell you, but there are perks, uh, definite perks. Apart from this, there is also the community builders program, something that you should be a part of. You can I guess Rohini would share the link in the comment section. Community builders is a program that we've had, budding people who want to contribute to the community and learn in the process. You can join the community builders program. The applications would be opening this March. So I was a part of the community builders program, the first batch itself, and it is a fun 1 year long program too. Apart from that, we have many fellowships, scholarships, open source programs, a lot than I can actually talk about. So I would suggest everyone should, visit these links that Rohini is telling, just Rohini is giving in the chat. And also, I would request Rohini to give the links to all the user groups in India, the developer community links. Yep. Okay. So that is it from my side. Then I would hand it over to Prithvi and I'd push off now.
Yeah, so that's a nice presentation and that's a nice description and explanation about the community from your part. Thank you for being with us in this. And
You're
next, I would
welcome,
like to
man. Have a good
invite,
day.
yeah, yeah. Next, I would like to invite Rohini ma'am. So, Rohini, please continue with this presentation and this meeting.
This is really interesting part. So just couple of things and really well put. Thank you for that. Just couple of things that would just like to add. I've sent the link for the user group. So find the user group that's near you. There's also an India-wide user group. So if you don't find something closer to you, just sign up for the India group. And we always keep posting on YouTube or on Facebook. And it's a very good community to sit around and talk and uh, don't feel like, hey, I don't know anything about AWS, what am I going to ask about, right? This is the best safest place to do that, because like you, many of us are still learning. Like even after being with AWS for so many years, I'm still learning, right? So the learning never stops. And don't there is no dumb questions, just ask those questions, and hopefully we'll find a lot of good speakers from here. Even if you're not confident, just raise your hand, prepare for it. As Parth mentioned, right, there is so many advantages. You'll have so much confidence in yourself. Like I see a lot of change in Parth himself after just 6 months of him being a leader and taking charge of everything, and it's amazing to see the growth as a person as well. And second thing, there is something called as the AWS Heroes program. I'll send a link as well in the chat. But there is a Heroes program. So what we do is, from the community, there are so many of you who are amazing at putting forth their ideas, maybe via blog, or they are constant speakers at different events, and they are AWS champions, right? So AWS also recognizes them as AWS heroes or community heroes, and they could be journalists or they could be specialists as well. So they could be like a serverless hero or a data hero or a machine learning hero, and so I'll send a link. Do check their profiles out if you're interested in machine learning and you want to follow our machine learning hero. Maybe you want to subscribe to his blog or his talks, and you can learn more. Or if you have any questions, you can also reach out to them for any answers you want, right? uh, cool. So if there's nothing else, okay, let me just quickly find that heroes link so I can send that. And switch to this tab, and you can actually search in this heroes list. So I think it should be okay. Like, just give me a second. You can actually find heroes in your local community from here. The link is in your chat. AWS heroes. And there are a lot of heroes from India. It's amazing to see the number of heroes we're getting from different places. Uh, cool. So let me share my screen. Just confirm if you can see my screen. Just give me a second. Share my screen. And someone should join us quickly. I think he's just busy with something else. Can you just confirm you can see my screen with me?
Yeah, yeah,
Aw-
Rohini. We can see your
Awesome.
screen.
Awesome. So Suman is going to join me in this presentation. He is the one who has some fancy demos ready. I have few couple of demos, but he has lots of fancy demos ready. So next 1 hour, we're going to talk to you about how you can get started on the AWS platform, and we'll also be answering a lot of questions. So Prithvi is there, and a lot of us are here. So feel free to ask questions in the live chat, and we will be able to answer those questions during the session or after the session. So feel free to add in. Remember, there's no dumb questions. Okay. Okay. So let me introduce myself. I'll also try to introduce Suman, but let me introduce myself. My name is Rohini. I'm a senior developer advocate. So Suman and me are part of the same team. Earlier, it was called as a tech evangelist, but now we call this role as a senior developer advocate. Our main work is to work with the community, to work with people who don't have AWS solutions architect or account managers, and so on and so forth. We work with a wider net of people and help them learn about the platform, give them more demos, a lot of content, so that they can use this to help themselves in their careers, or at work, and so on and so forth. So I've been with AWS for last 7+ years. I've done multiple roles. I know the today's topic is not on that, but I've done multiple roles, like as a support engineer, or I've been a solutions architect, and I've worked in different countries for AWS. So I do love working here. 7 years is a very long time. I do love working here, and I do have a lot of experiences from that to share. So I do make few videos on the different roles I have on my YouTube channel, which is bit recent. So you can reach out to me via Twitter, LinkedIn, or you could check out my YouTube channel for a few of these roles. And if you have more questions, reach out to me. Suman is a principal developer advocate. He has been in this role particularly longer than I have. He's a great mentor for me. He's an IITian, amazing machine learning data analytics knowledge, which I don't have per se like such a deep knowledge, but he's amazing as well, and very friendly, very helpful. I've been learning a lot from him. Like Parth mentioned, learn from your seniors. So I do learn a lot from Suman, and you'll see how amazing he is once he joins us. So let's get started with our session today. Parth did talk about AWS. Parth did talk about what is AWS, right? So before that, just one slide because I do want to keep it short. But cloud computing by definition, and this definition is quite old. This definition is something that cloud started with, right, in the initial years. But uh, you know, cloud computing by definition means any on demand delivery of IT resources and applications. So, IT resources could be your compute, your storage, your networking, something you want to, or an application that you want to access over the internet with a pay as you go pricing. Now, if I have to compare this with something that we have already been using, is something like electricity, right? None of us has an electricity grid at our home, right? The electricity grid is maintained, managed by someone else. They produce that electricity for us. All we do is access that electricity over the cable, or in this case over the internet, as you say, in a pay as you go pricing, right? So if you switch on a fan, you start paying for it. You switch off a fan, you stop paying for it, right? As simple as that. So how you use electricity that is managed, maintained by someone else, and you reap the benefits of that product, it's the same way with cloud computing. Someone else is managing data centers, someone else is doing all the networking, physical security, installation, and cooling the server rooms, etc., so on and so forth. You as a customer reap the benefits of that. You access, if you want a Windows virtual machine, you create that, you access that. You want a Linux virtual machine, you create that, you access that. There's a lot of other things like storage or databases or CDNs and whatnot, like cloud providers provide today, right? But the thought process after it is same. It is pay as you go. It is over the internet, and it is on demand. Like I need it right now, and you have access to it within 5-10 minutes, sitting anywhere in the world, right? So that's the layman understanding of cloud computing. Now, where does AWS fall in place? Amazon was doing something like this, was the e-commerce when it was building an e-commerce, and this was a very, very early time for a lot of us. And Amazon was building a lot of defined data center kind of services internally to be able to scale Amazon.com, right? And that's when the idea came about that, hey, can we not give these services to others and let them also benefit from the knowledge that we have? And that's how the services were given to someone else. Like Amazon started giving these services like SQS or S3 as services to external public, and they started using it. And from there we've seen a lot of customer demand, like, hey, we want this kind of, like, we want to create databases, but we don't want to worry about installation and all. Can you do it for us? And AWS understood the need from the market and then started building these services. So a lot of our roadmap comes from our customers. So what is AWS? AWS is broad, okay? And I'll tell you how many services we have today. I think I've not updated my slide post reinvent, but it is quite broad and it is quite deep as a platform. Okay. So in 1 hour today, for sure, none of us is going to be like an expert in AWS, but we'll give you pointers how you can get started, how you can take those baby steps to learn about the AWS platform, right? So AWS is broad and deep. So it's a T, broad and deep. And it helps customers build sophisticated, scalable, secure applications. Like Parth mentioned, right? A lot of these customers use AWS products to build their own applications that you can use. Like he gave example of Netflix. We all, almost all of us now watch Netflix at home, right? Uh, what do you do in this pandemic? Watch Netflix. But we all do watch Netflix, right? So how does Netflix run in the backend? How are you able to stream content over the internet, and that's so easily available within like milliseconds to you, right? That is powered by a lot of AWS services, right? So similarly, why would customers choose AWS? First is the agility. Now, because a lot of startups, see, initially what happened when cloud was not there, people would have to actually purchase land, purchase these servers, install the servers on these places, do installation because servers heat up. Like I use MacBook, you know how much it heats up with few programs running on it. Think of a server farm, how it must be heating up, right? So there needs to be a lot of cooling, there needs to be a lot of installations, a lot of people for security because you're securing data on it. So that was a huge investment for a lot of companies. So smaller startups didn't have an advantage of building something, right? And that's what it gave. It allowed these startups, now they can use cloud. They have an idea, they can experiment, they can build, they can say, hey, I'm going to publish it to maybe 10,000, 20,000 people. I'll see how is it going viral or is it a boring idea. If it is going great, I can scale, I can add more compute, I can add more storage, and it can scale for more people. Or if it's not a good idea, let's scrap it. Let's stop paying for all these servers, let's scrap it and let's work on a new idea. So people could experiment, could innovate, could save cost because now they don't have to buy server farms and they don't have to worry about all of that. All they have to worry about paying for that capacity that they need, that compute, that storage, that database capacity they need. So they don't have to have upfront capital to invest. They don't have to worry about all of that. And because AWS keeps reducing their prices, the customers also have a lot of trust in AWS that the prices are going to be stable. And further, we keep reducing our prices because the millions and millions of customers that come onto AWS help AWS, with economies of scale, and we can give that benefit back to our customers as well. The next is elasticity. Now you don't have to worry, do I need two servers? Do I need three servers? Do I need 10 servers? What do I do? Is it going to take weeks or is it going to take months to procure those? Now you don't have to worry. I need one more server within minutes, and we'll see that in the demo. Within minutes, you're going to be able to provision some server. You can add in capacity, you can remove capacity on demand. Cloud is virtually unlimited, right? Then you can innovate faster. You customers now can build applications that can be differentiators. For example, Airbnb, right? Do you think something like Airbnb existed before? No, but now we have Airbnb, which is like a disruptor in its own market. Now it is building uh, applications that are catering to a lot of us who are using these applications, right? They don't have to worry about infrastructure. Their business is something else. They just need to build an application that is going to help with their business, right? So they don't have to worry about data centers as well while they are working on having flats as well, flats or villas. And go global in minutes. We'll talk about the global infrastructure in some time, but so let's skip to that. And service breadth and depth. So I've not updated the slide since reinvent, but there are all 175 plus services on the AWS platform. Now, this is not to scare you. There is a slide that may scare you, but this is not to scare you. It's just to show that customers want a lot of things from the AWS platform, and that's why AWS has been building these services and rolling them out for customers to use. So 90 to 95% of our roadmap is driven by customers. If customers keep raising, like you are a customer to AWS, right? And for example, we had Kubernetes, right? Customers kept saying that we run Kubernetes clusters on AWS virtual machines, right? It's too tedious for us to manage. There's a lot of things to manage, a lot of things to do. Can you not make it easy for us to run Kubernetes on AWS? And that's where services like Amazon EKS or Elastic Kubernetes service came into picture, where we built this service so that customers can use it quickly to create Kubernetes applications on the AWS platform, because it's not going to be helping the business to run a Kubernetes server farm, right? It is not going to help them to run Kubernetes at scale. What is going to get revenue for the businesses? Having an application run successfully on Kubernetes. So they will always try to find ways to reduce friction into things that are not going to generate revenue, right? So always look for services that are going to make your life easy a bit, even if that means we have to spend little extra for managed services. A lot of manpower, a lot of problems are taken care by a lot of managed services, right? So far with me, okay? If you have questions, just add in there. This is quickly, so I'm not going to go much deeper into this. But why I talk about this is because this could be your journey on the AWS platform, right? So how would you start with AWS? First thing first, pick a simple project. Okay, how many ever presentations or sessions you're going to listen to, it's going to go bouncer because until and unless you start playing with things, you're not going to learn anything. So pick a project. Now people will ask, what project? Are you a developer? Then find something in your own language to develop on the AWS platform. If you are into machine learning, find a simple machine learning project. I do have some links in the end, so don't worry about where to find these projects, but find simple projects and start working, right? The more you get your hands dirty, the more faster you're going to learn. Build your foundation on the platform, learn the terminologies, learn the basics of a platform. Like, okay, I'm going to talk about regions and availability zones, but then why do I need it? What is that principle? Don't just learn, okay, AWS has regions and availability zones. Yes, but where do you apply it? What is the use case? What is the need for having these things? Try to introspect, because that is going to help you. The more successful people I've seen who know their foundation much better, rather than knowing just fancy services and then they are like clueless of how it works in the back end, or they're not sure of how the foundation is. Even on the AWS platform, know your foundation. Your foundation is going to help anything that new AWS will launch. You will quickly understand that if your foundation is more strong, right? So start with a project, build your slowly foundation, do your certifications. If some people learn better from certifications, like unless an exam, until there is an exam, I'm not going to study, right? So some people just have mindset. So start doing that if that works with you. Then a lot of customers do migration, like they may already have something in data centers they want to migrate, and then they do some modernization, like you must have heard a lot of times, like monolith to microservices kind of a thing, right? So they do a lot of changes in the architecture of the applications. Like you can't just move application from data center to AWS and then say it's costing me more, it's not running fine. Yes, because you have not modified it to work on the cloud platform. It's a different platform, so you have to edit your or work on redesigning your architecture piece by piece, but you have to do that over time. And then of course keep adding more fancy features so your users are happy with the application, right? So pick a project. It could be a simple project, like you want to create your own website for your fancy resume, right? Just pick a project and start, and you will be fine with it. Lot of customers, so a lot of startups, lot of enterprises, millions and millions of customers. Okay, so I don't know how many zeros that has, don't ask me that. But there are a lot of startups, lot of enterprises, lot of public sector like government or applications on the platform as well, and lot of SIs and ISVs. Now what are system integrators? And system integrators are companies like your Accenture or your Wipro or your Cognizant. Most of us are looking for placements there, right? So what are these companies doing in cloud? If you have certain projects, if you have certain experience, that will be added advantage to your profile, right? Because a lot of these companies, what they do is, for example, there's a company, there's a e-commerce company. Okay, I'm just giving an example, and they want to run application on, and they want to have a fast performing application, and they want to run it on cloud. But e-commerce company doesn't want to have an IT team who can do it. So what they do is they hire someone, some company like Accenture or any partner company from AWS, and they give them that project that you will take care of installation and managing this product for us. And then this company will find people who are efficient in these different technologies to work on that product, right? So target your SIs if you can, because those could be a great addition to your job search when you want to do it. ISVs are companies who are using, so independent service vendors. These are companies who are using AWS to build products, and then they sell those products on the AWS platform. Sounds fun, right? So if you're building a startup like that, why not do it? So I talked about the partner network. There is a marketplace where these vendors sell it as well. Like AWS is not going to do everything, right? For example, today we don't do antivirus. We don't create antivirus. There are a lot of products who already are great at building antivirus, so they can run that on the AWS platform. So let's talk quickly about global infrastructure. Uh, so at global infrastructure, initially, I think if you can see here on my screen, uh, okay, let me see laser pointer. You can see there is first 5 years, there were only 4 regions across the world. So Singapore, Ireland, Virginia, and California were the only 4 regions. We added 7 more regions in the next 5 years. And just last 4 years, you can see the new 13 regions that came into place. So you can see the growth has been crazy at the AWS side because customers wanted regions that were more closer, or there were some compliance issues or data privacy laws that countries had, and they wanted data centers in their own country, right? So coming soon, there are 5 regions. I think that is the latest one. But if you see, we already have something in Mumbai, but Hyderabad is already announced to come in next couple of years. I think I don't remember the exact date, but we don't anyways publish an exact date. So it's coming soon to a location near you, right? Now, when you have to think about region, and this is something that you should remember from an AWS perspective. Now, there could be different definitions to what region means to a cloud provider, but this is definition of what region means for AWS. Okay, for AWS, what we mean by region, let's park region for now. When you have one data center or multiple data centers, they are together called as an availability zone. So one or more data centers are called as availability zone. One or more availability zones, so actually it will be always two or more. Basically, we always want two availability zones. So two sets of data center clusters can form a AWS region. Okay, so let's see in the diagram again. One or more data centers form an availability zone. One or more availability zones form an AWS region. Okay. Why is this important? If you're trying to give certification or planning to give certification in future, always remember it is a best practice to have a multi AZ on your applications. Now you would say, why Rohini, why are you making me host it in different data centers? What is this? Can I not just host in one AZ and it will be in different data centers? No. The reason being, the two availability zones, if I host something in this availability zone, and if that availability zone fails, what happens to my application? My users will get frustrated that the application is inaccessible. But what if I could make it 50-50 in both the availability zones? And if one availability zone fails, yes, there will be degraded performance until you start new virtual machines here or add more capacity here. But at least 50% of your audience is still running, right? You're still having your site up and running. You can still quickly, remember I said on demand, so within seconds or minutes, you can quickly scale out on this side of the availability zone and keep application running. So you're not even dependent on AWS for all your reliability. Your application itself is able to be highly fault tolerant, highly available, and scale across different availability zones. And that's why everything that we talk about, like solution architect associate, just blindly think about multi-AZ and go for it. Okay, take note of all that. CloudFront, will leave it for Suman once he comes back, but CloudFront is nothing but a content delivery network. This is very typical of different providers. So I'll tell you what happens. For example, you're sitting here in India, okay? You're sitting here in India in Mumbai, and you're accessing some content that is hosted in US. Okay, what happens the first time you go to access this file, or let's say an image? This it doesn't happen. Okay, if I have to show an arrow directly, this doesn't happen in real life. Your ISPs will route your content or your traffic to multiple places, blah blah blah, and then finally reach here. So it may take maybe 500 milliseconds or a second or 5 seconds for you to reach US East, get that file and download it on your site, right? Imagine someone else also trying to access that file. That person is also going to face the same issue, like they're going to reach there and come back. So users can get frustrated because now it's just taking so long for them to access the content. We are not even patient for that 5-second YouTube ad that goes on, right? Do you think people are going to be patient enough for like getting a file from somewhere sitting in USEs? People are going to be frustrated. What do you do in this case? Use something like a content delivery network, or what CloudFront is. So what it does is it has edge locations, or it has cache locations closer to where people are. So what it does, if I'm sitting here in, I don't know, Nagpur, okay, and I want to access a file that is sitting in US, what it will do is the content delivery network will see if the file is in the local cache. So for example, it could see, do I have that file in Mumbai? I don't have file in Mumbai, so let me go fetch it from US and store it in my local cache, and also give it to the end user. Now, if someone else wants to access the same file, the cache will first see in its own cache, right? It will see in Mumbai, hey, yeah, I have that file. Let me give it to you right now. I don't need to go to US. It'll go and give that file. If that file in US changes, obviously it's going to update that. But now, if you see, a lot of people can access it from the local regional cache rather than going again and again to the origin or the source for getting that file. And that's how things work. It's not just static content like files and videos and stuff like that. It is also a lot of dynamic content that content delivery networks help with. Then you have global network. So we'll not go deeper into it, but there are a lot of customers who want to have direct connect. Like, hey, I don't want to go via internet because I told you, right? ISPs and latencies and a lot of security issues. We have seen a lot of these hacking movies, right, where something is going, a packet is going, and someone hacked into it. So people don't want to do that. They want to have a lot of security because it's their corporate data, it's their IP data. So a lot of them will have a straight MPLS line going from their data centers or their office to the AWS cloud. Quite expensive. A lot of customers do it. Now it has been made cheaper with a lot of partners being involved, but not for us, not for students or people like us who are just experimenting from home. So let's look at the products and services. Don't get scared if I show you this slide, but this is just this is not even names of the services AWS has. This is just categories of things that AWS has. Okay, so but then you can navigate easily. And let me help you understand how you can navigate easily through all of this. The first thing first, look at this green block here. It says infrastructure. Now I've already explained to you what is regions, what is availability zones, and point of presence is the same CDN CloudFront thing. So I've explained these three to you. So you're already done with your infrastructure. We will try to touch base on few of the core services. Remember I said foundation, know these core services, know the foundational services, because everything else you see here, right, from DevOps to mobile services to machine learning, everything is either created using these core services or use a lot of similar fundamentals of these core services. So as long as you know your core, any new service that is going to come on AWS is going to use the core services. So we believe in eating our own food. So if we have made it, we'll eat it and we'll create or you reuse it for creating new dishes. Okay. So there are a lot of these services that are dependent on this. So always remember your core services. So your EC2, your storage, your VPC, or your content delivery network, and so on and so forth. Security is an important aspect. Cloud is for everyone. Okay. And that is what I want to show it in this. A lot of people ask me a question. I'm a developer, is cloud for me? I'm not a developer, is cloud for me? I'm into networking, is cloud for me? Cloud is for everyone in tech. As simple as that. You are into operations, you are into building machines, you are working on operating systems like Linux or Windows or Red Hat or whatever, cloud is for you. If you are a developer, you want to build applications using languages like Python, Node.js, or Java, or C, I don't know, many languages now, but you want to build that, cloud is for you. You're a front end developer, you're a back end developer, cloud is for you. You're into security, you're into machine learning, you're into analytics. There's service for every different persona that you are in tech industry, right? So pick what you like. Most of you may be students in the audience. You already must know what you like. You must know that I like doing development. So what is cloud going to help you with? You use that development knowledge and add cloud as a flavor into it. Okay. You use your AIML machine learning knowledge and add cloud as a flavor to it. People keep asking this question a lot, but adding this as a flavor, let cloud be a complement rather than, you know, being complete like, hey, I want to go into cloud completely and then I don't know anything else. Don't do that. So whatever you know already, add cloud as a complement. So if you could be a security person, and see, security is a very big thing for cloud providers, because imagine you hosting your data and it's not in your possession. You won't ever be able to know where it is stored or go ahead and access it physically. So people who are hosting this data into someone else's data center need to know that their data is secure. They need to know that the data is not going to be tampered with or someone else is going to hack into that data center. So cloud providers take security very seriously. It's like the number one priority for cloud providers to have a secure infrastructure, right? So there are a lot of services that you as a customer see that you can use on the cloud platform, but there are a lot of things that the cloud vendor does internally as well. And we have one slide where I talk about these different services. Then you see a lot of management tools, you see a lot of analytics, DevOps, application services, IoT, machine learning, a lot of different services on the platform. Depends on your choice, what you want to do, and then you can pick them up. I already talked about marketplace. Now there are different roles. Now this purple line is about different roles. So what do people typically who have cloud knowledge do? They could be developers. They could be developers building cloud, like I mentioned right initially. But there are different roles similar to other products as well. Like there could be support engineers, like even at AWS, right? We have support engineers to help our customers. We have professional services team to help our customers. We have the partner ecosystem. We have training and certification. We have solutions management, like, solutions architect team or us who can help that. With account management teams like sales or the salespeople or marketing people with into the cloud, and a lot of other things inside the cloud platform itself. How do you access AWS? There are different ways of accessing AWS. There's a console, AWS management console. So you just go GUI, nice, click, 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 easy for everyone to get started. So you start with the management console. I'll show you the console in a minute. Start with it simple. command line tool. If you're a geeky person and you want to type commands like all those hackers in those different movies, I don't know what they keep typing and things keep moving on the screen, but if you're one of those, just use command line tools. A lot of IDEs are supported. Like I use Visual Studio, or you could use IntelliJ, or you could use J. Like there are a lot of them. So a lot of IDEs have toolkits for AWS as well. So you could use that. You could definitely use SDK. So we want to build applications that are using AWS in the backend, right? So you can use SDKs, and there are lots of different languages supported. A lot of sample code is available on what you want to do with it. Check it out. And finally, infrastructure as code. And with infrastructure as code, I think what you could do is, I'm still waiting for Suman. Prithvi may want to check with him. So our infrastructure as code, what happened is, because now there are so many things to launch, I'll show you that. It became difficult. How do you go and do it one click in GUI, or just type a command in each of a command line tool? We came up with a lot of innovative ideas. And if you are into operations, or if you are into DevOps, do check out infrastructure as code. It's amazing what all you could do with infrastructure as code. Okay, so a lot of you are students, a lot of you are like me who don't have a lot of money. Just kidding, but we want to experiment at low cost. So how do we do that? If you create a new AWS account, you get a free tier. Okay, I don't say everything is free. Okay, there are few services that will always be free, but everything that we mention here has a limit. Okay, so it could be, for example, first million Lambda functions are always free. Okay, for example, the first 12 months, few things are free. Like you could have 750 hours per month. That's one T2 dot micro, one T3 dot micro instance, free for almost a month. 750 hours per month. And then there are few trials, very few trials, but there are few trials. So go to aws.amazon.com/free, and you will be able to find what is free, and you can experiment uh, within that gap. Yes, you need a credit card to sign up. Uh, but if you are an educate student, I'll leave it to Prithvi to update you on how you can create an educate account and access that, and experiment with the AWS account. But if you're not an student, go and check out free. Try to add a credit card and see if you're not going beyond a certain. You can add alerts and a lot of things. That I think we should do another event for that. But get started by creating an account and create a project. Start experimenting. How do you start? If you're an DevOps or operations person, there is a simple tutorial like LAMP stack on AWS. See, that's what I said. You already know something and you want to add it into AWS. So there's a LAMP stack, Linux, Apache, MySQL, and a PHP. I want to create a LAMP stack. I want to create a mean stack. I want to create these different stacks on AWS platform. Find a tutorial for that and start experimenting. Now I'll put on my solution architect hat. And what I'll do is I will show you quickly how you can lay out VPCs. Now, this topic may become a bit advanced for a lot of you. Just bear with me, because once you understand this topic, it's going to be easy for you for the rest of the life. So bookmark this timeline if you want. Come back and read this if you want to do your certification again. So let's start with the blank slate. A lot of theory as of now, right? So this is how architects should think like. And if you're planning to be an architect sometime in your life, please don't say that after getting out of college, I'm going to be an architect. That is very bad to think about it. Have a long-term goal about it, that I want to become an architect and I want to take smaller steps. But be someone who can build things with hand, learn a lot to fail and rebuild, and how you're going to build fault-tolerant applications and then become an architect. So the first thing you would do is AWS Cloud. You have to have an AWS Cloud account, right? So have an AWS Cloud account. Figure out which region you want to work with. If you are experimenting, I would suggest you to use US East as your region. If you're building production applications, then you need to find a close proximity to where your end users are going to be. Remember, I'm talking about end users. If you're sitting in India and building an application that is going to be helpful to a lot of Singaporeans, then doesn't make sense to use Mumbai region. Use the Singapore region because it's more close to your end users. Or if you're building an application that is going to be used by Indians and you have to have data privacy laws, or you have to have like you're holding financial transactions, then consider the country's laws and regulations. So if you're hosting data in India, you should be in India. It cannot be outside India. But if you're experimenting, playing, development, blah blah blah, select US East. It's most cheapest region you can find. So that's my tip for you. Use US East whenever you're experimenting. Use two availability zones, right? Remember multi availability zones. So at the very least, use two availability zones. You should always use more than that, but my diagram would be too messy if I use more than that. So I'm using two availability zones. So how do I get started? I create something called as a virtual private cloud. Now, what is a VPC? Virtual private cloud. It's virtual. There is no physical cloud. It is private in nature. Okay. So virtual private cloud, when you create it, you give a private IP CIDR block. Okay, so this is a private CIDR block. It is either could be 10 dot something something or 190 to 168 or something something. You cannot have a public range here. Okay, why am I doing this? Because I want to secure my application. Before VPC in the classic world, anything you host on the cloud would have a public IP, and it would be publicly accessible anywhere across the world. So this was very very early, like initially when I started working cloud, I think VPC was just launched or something like that. So then if you host a database and database has a public IP and anywhere everywhere in the world can access it, obviously after security as well, but people can ping that database across the world. Do you want to be that kind of a person that can be hacked by anyone, right? No. So that's why VPC came into a virtual private cloud. Give it a CIDR block and you should be able to create it within a region. Okay, notice I have kept it within a region, not within an availability zone. Then you create public subnets. Public subnets are within availability zones. Okay, so there are a lot of services or resources in AWS that could be regional, that could be global, regional or zonal. So here VPC is regional, public subnet is zonal, and there are services that can be global as well, like IAM, Identity and Access Management, which is global. Create public subnet. See, I gave a slice of this IP range, right? So I'm creating slices of this IP range. If you notice, I create private subnets. Now you will say, hey, Rohini, what is private subnet? What is public subnet? Do I just name it private and let it be private? No, sorry, it's not that simple. What makes public and private is, let's say I have an EC2 instance. So that orange block is a virtual machine, what we call it as an EC2 instance, Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. That is the service name, short form EC2. Instance as in one virtual machine of EC2. Okay. So this is EC2. Okay. So I'm going to check where is Suman. Okay. 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 So this is EC2. This is EC2. Okay. Now, if you have to access this EC2 from, you need something called as a security group. Now, that's as simple as that. I will say a firewall that you want to add to a lot of this, right? So you could say, I will add something like a router. Okay. If you add something like a router, that defines if the subnet is public or if that subnet is private. By default, it will only allow local uh, discussion, like between the virtual machines. So what I mean is, they can talk to each other, but as of now, no one from outside can talk to each other. Okay, so let's say you want to say that, hey, this virtual machine should be able to be accessed from outside, should be able to be accessed from outside. Like I'm sitting at home, I want to access this virtual machine over the internet. What do? Give an internet gateway. Okay, internet gateway, add it into the route table that I want to go to internet via this internet gateway. So as me, I'm calling myself cloud admin. I want to call myself that. I can access this virtual machine on the port. Now this is Linux. I want to access SSH on port 22. Awesome. This can be done. But can I access the one in private cloud? No, because there is no route for internet, right? This instance cannot go out or cannot be accessed via the internet. So how do I do this? The first thing is, you could convert this into a bastion host. You can search for it. Just take note of what is bastion host. And you can convert this into a bastion host. So someone, a cloud admin, can access this machine, and from here they can access this machine. They cannot directly access it. So that adds a layer of security. So you can add more security as to who can access this virtual machine. And this virtual machine could have some private data or database and stuff like that. and then you have, so you access it like this, right? But still you're saying like, hey, this virtual machine needs to go out, like I have to go and update some download some updates or libraries from somewhere else. How am I going to do that? How am I going to port it here and then download it here? It's too much work. Can this virtual machine just go out to download it? Yes, you can do that, and that is possible some using something called as a NAT gateway. uh, this is very important if you're working with cloud initially. So you will have something called as a NAT gateway created with an elastic IP. I'm not going deeper into this, but it has a static IP to it, and you've created NAT gateway, and you just update the route table saying, I want to go to internet using the NAT gateway. So this machine will go to the router. Oh, 0.0 is via the NAT gateway. So it'll go here. And now this is already, because in the subnet can go out via the internet gateway. Okay. So that was the entire talk about VPCs. I know this can be a lot more if you're starting now, but if you've already been experimenting with the cloud, this make more sense then. Now I'll take a pause because I do want to hand over to Saurav for a few minutes and give you all a mental break. So over to you, Saurav.
Hello, Saurav. Hello. Yeah, hi, Saurav. Good morning. Saurav, can you hear me?
I don't think we can hear Saurav actually. No, we can't hear you, Saurav.
Uh, we can't hear you, Saurav.
Yeah, some issue. Uh, Saurav may want to log out and try again. We'll just we'll take another pause here somewhere. Sorry, technical glitches. We'll give him a minute. And everyone else, take a water break, or if you have more questions, do that. Or if you forgot a pen and paper, just get that and write down things.
Yeah. Hi, so hi, Suman. Good morning.
Hey, hi.
Hi, good
Good
morning, Suman.
timing.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Great timing. We are just talking about you to join.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
Saurav had joined. We had some technical issues with him. So we're just waiting for him to rejoin. Meanwhile, let's do one thing. Oh, he's here. He's here. Okay, let's see if we can remove him.
Hello, am I audible?
yes,
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 you
Saurav.
are.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Well,
So I think everyone, you have a great time. Like every time I joined the session, when Rohini, Suman are there, definitely I going to learn a lot. Like I seen this session 3 to 4 times I attended the session, but every time I joined the session, I used to learn a lot. So this is what I can say. Like being in a community, you can't just get to connect to people. You come to know about what technology is trending. Like being in like if you are in college life, then the most important thing about being learning is like what technology you should learn. Like there is always a ton of technologies there.
and there is always a lot of distraction, like this technology is going to be trending in the next years, this technology is trending in next year. So it's always a problem for being a student. Like I face this a lot. Like I used to explore cloud, machine learning, DevOps, uh, a lot of technology. Then I come to know that no, like stick with the technology that you want to learn, and learn trending, be in the trend. So I can say that cloud is the market that where you can stick, because like what I can see, cloud is always the intersection part of every technology. Like either you are working in a DevOps, either you are working in machine learning, or in the core cloud itself, there is an intersection where you need cloud. There is a time comes when you need cloud for that. And like I come to like I come to the cloud. I started learning in the like it's been 1.5 year, and every time I learn, uh, I joined the session, I joined the communities meetup. I get to learn new things, and I come to know that like yeah, okay, there is a cloud. Okay, let me think that like I wanted to start learning cloud, but there is a lot of things in cloud. What should I learn? And there comes the mentorship thing. There, the Rohini and Suman always comes into the picture for me. Like they used to guide me like what to learn, what not to learn, and like what's going to be trending in the technology. And this is what we are going to communicate to the whole community, because we know that Suman and Rohini are not able to answer everyone questions. Like they are so busy, we know that. So we are going to be the person who going to be their voice and their ears also, so that we can able to communicate their things in the community, so that everyone comes to know like yeah, this is a cloud, these are all the services we have to learn to be the like to that we can use in the particular domain that you are working in. So here come the things that that really motivate me to create the user group. Like we and Prithvi started this initiative together, and I'm so happy to see that like yeah, we did it. And today we have our session on Indore, and like on 20th of Feb we are going to do the same on for AWS User Group Dehradun. Like if you want, you can also join that day also. So that like it's always a great learning. That what I said. Like you've seen that session. If Rohini going to repeat the same session on that day also, you are going to learn a lot, because like that's what learning is. Like every time you repeat the things, you get to learn things. Still you get to learn. So this is what I all wanted to say. And I think Suman is with us, so he can talk more about community and AWS and all. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, thanks so much, Saurav.
Introduce
Yeah.
yourself. Yes.
Yeah, Rohini, you were saying something?
I was saying thanks, Saurabh. And on that note, Suman, you should also introduce yourself. I did try to introduce you, but it was all praises.
Yeah. So sorry for getting a little late. So I was into another meetup, and since we both wanted to join, Rohini and myself, I thought that's okay that I can join a little late. So Saurav mentioned why he joins at the meetup, and I personally joined just so I hear the same praising words again and again every weekend to start my weekend. Okay, so that's my motivation. Okay. So learning will happen anyway, here or there. Okay, just kidding. So thank you so much, Saurav and Prithviraj. So we have been working with them, and honestly, we were not we did not do anything in this context to build this community and meet up. It's all their work, right? All we did was just to facilitate where to go and some logistics here and there. But it's all about the community leaders. It's all about Prithviraj, Saurav, and Parth. I guess he was there early in the morning. So it's all your baby. You have to nurture. And today it's a wonderful day. We have almost more than 5 meetups running across our region, so it's amazing. So I was just trying to take some snapshot where we can have all these streams going live. So thank you so much for arranging and building this user group. We try to get engaged more and more, and we try to see that how well we can stay connected and keep learning. And Rohini must have introduced herself. So I work with Rohini. We work with the developer relations team. We are based out of India. I'm based out of Bangalore. She's from Mumbai. And I joined here roughly around 1.5 years or 1 year, 6, 7 months back. And prior to that, I used to work for various, mostly hardware and chipset-based companies. And my focus area, till I joined AWS, was mostly around storage and network protocol. And now I try to focus on machine learning and computer vision in particular. So that's about me. If you have any questions, it's not about background or what you really strong at. It doesn't matter. Okay, so you can just reach out to us. We may not be the expert on that area, but we can surely get you engaged with the right folks. But take this opportunity to get engaged with your peers, with your friends, and leverage this time. Don't just waste your weekend by just attending a webinar. I mean, that is never being a thing that I would recommend anyone. But just make sure that you connect. There are a lot of people I know in this call. Harsh, then Vivek. They are very, very network savvy, and I know them by name. Okay, because they talk to us almost every day. So take that opportunity. So thank you once again, and I give that back to sort of Prithviraj.
Yeah, yeah. Hello.
Yeah, you are audible. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hello.
we can hear you. Some issue at Prithvi's side. The most asked questions in this lockdown. Am I on mute or can you hear me? We can hear you, Prithvi.
Hello. Fine. So, seen a question there in the chat, there in the comment section, that what is AMI on AWS. So, Prakhar, AMI is just a machine, Amazon machine image that you want to put on your machine when you create a server on the AWS or on cloud. Like, let's say you are going to create a Windows server. So in that case, the Windows Server 2016 ISO image will be your Amazon machine image. So Amazon machine image is just an image that will be put it on your server when you create a server and when your server is up. In case of Linux, you might be having a AMI of Ubuntu and Red Hat and also. So any other questions are there in chat I can see?
No, not as of now. And don't worry, we have a fancy demo coming up on AMI and EC2 and all that. So we'll show you
Fine.
all of that there.
Fine. So Rohini, can we start with the demo?
So, okay. So Suman, I just reached out till my networking discussion. We'll keep Suman on call. So I still reached here. So I think it's going to be your fancy demo on Lambda coming soon as well. So let's do this. So if you're talking about AWS compute, right, there are three options. Always remember to categorize whatever AWS services you have. Just have broad categories in your mind, like where will this service fit? If you try to remember all the names, it's going to be crazy. So there are three different categories. One is virtual servers or virtual machines on the cloud. The second is containers related activities. So you want to have container orchestration services for running managed clusters on these virtual machines. That is the second layer. And the third is definitely the serverless aspect of it. So for serverless in compute, we have something called as Lambda. Of course, there's Fargate for container side, but there is also serverless compute where we will showcase that in the demo itself. So let's do this. Instead of a lot of theory, we will quickly go and check out these services in the AWS management console, right? So, okay, I had a lot of links open. So when you log into AWS, okay, when you create an account, you log into AWS, you can find a lot more information here. The first thing is click on services and you can find different services that AWS has. Now, if you try to search your service in this, it's going to be very tedious. Just go ahead and type here what service are we looking for. Like I'm looking for EC2 or I'm looking for some service. Just find that service in this box and you should be able to easily go there. Then you have Cloud Shell. I think they've given Cloud Shell as a direct link here, which I will also show again. There's a lot of account related information that you can find. There's a lot of regions. Now remember I talked about regions across the world. Now, if I have to find Mumbai, I can just click on regions. I can go to Mumbai region. That's as easy as that. And then I click on EC2 or I click on CloudFormation. I can see resources I've created in that region. Okay, so you don't have to leave your desk at all. You just click on whatever region you want. Like I want to create something in US East. I find the region, go in there and start working. There's a lot more information, like there's a support center, there's a lot of public forums, free forums, documentation, and so on and so forth. Now this is the console. Now you come here, you find a lot more information here as well. If you want to have quick projects, you can find these projects on the console as well, right? So let me show you something quickly. The first thing I'll be show you is Cloud Shell. Okay, so the first thing I'll show you is Cloud Shell. Now remember I said you can have CLI access to AWS. You could use your local terminal as well. Not an issue. A lot of us still use a lot of terminals. But if you're not interested in installing so many tools on your machine and you're like, this is my office ka machine, I don't want to install stuff, I don't have permission for doing all of that, you could then easily install these things into Cloud Shell. So Cloud Shell will come pre-baked with all of these different tools with some storage. So you can just use that to access AWS using the CLI, right? It takes there are a few things that it takes some time for you to for it to actually create the environment for you to get access to, but this is what the CLI is. So you don't have to worry about credentials. You don't have to worry about installing any tools. Let it start up. I'll come back to this once this waiting for environment. It typically happens in seconds, but I think it's just starting up again. Okay. So meanwhile, we'll go to EC2. Okay. So what I've done is I've selected EC2 here and I've clicked on EC2. Okay. Let me go again and show from there. So this is what it looks like. This is the new EC2 experience. But in a glance, you can see how many instances are running, how many IPs I have, what kind of resources I've already created in the platform, right? So I can also see health of the service from AWS. I can find more information at the service health dashboards. So there's a lot more information. What you have to do is find this orange button, click on launch instance. And right now I'll just launch an EC2 instance. So I'm saying I want to launch a virtual machine. Now there are different steps for launching this virtual machine. Okay. There are different steps that you would need to go through for creating that virtual machine. The first is the AMI that someone asked in the questions and Prithvi answered it as well. Amazon machine image. As simple as what he put, right? It is like an ISO of that virtual machine or an operating system that you want to create. Okay, simple template of what operating system you want to create. Now as a quick start, you can find a lot of let me try and see if I can zoom in here. You can find Amazon Linux. Now Amazon Linux is a Linux that AWS created or Amazon created. It's similar to your CentOS, so I will launch an Amazon Linux and I'll show it to you. Starting this year, we also started supporting Mac OS, not available in all regions, just few regions, but you can also have Mac OS on the AWS platform, right? You can create Red Hat, SUSE, Ubuntu, Microsoft, blah, blah, blah. You can create a lot, many virtual machines on the AWS platform. Now, a lot of these are created by AWS, right? So if I select this and I create, I will always get a blank slate. What you want to do is pick that blank slate, modify it, install whatever you want to install on it, and create your own custom image, right? So if I create my own custom image, I can find this in my EMIs category, where I can find that I have created these, like I installed some WebSphere on it, or I have some test image or some workshop on it. I created my own image and I can find those in this list. So I don't have to reinstall everything again and again. It's already packaged in a EMI, and I can create new virtual machines from that EMI, right? So once I start that new virtual machine, everything will already be installed and I can quickly start running. Okay. You have marketplace, you have community EMIs, so on and so forth. Now let's say I selected this. Let me see if I have that code handy. Okay, where is that code? I don't think I have some code handy, but we'll see. My bad. I should have checked that for it before. But what you could do is here you could select the instance type. Now you could decide family. Now you can read more on family, but essentially what family means is that do I want it to be a general purpose? Do I want it more compute optimized? Do I want it to be more storage optimized? what kind of virtual machine I want. So you find out that family first. You can find more information, like click here, learn more. You'll find more information on that. Like what are the different instance types? When do you use what instance type? Like what optimize it should be, right? Then you find out what is the size you want. And this could be like a t-shirt size, right? Like micro, small, medium, large, extra large kind of a thing. So let's go with the free tier eligible. Remember I talked about free tier. So we'll go with free tier eligible. That has 1 vCPU, 1 GB memory. It's EBS only. There's a lot more we can talk about storage. We'll not try to bombard your brain with all of that. And it has low to moderate network performance. All cool. Then I could say, hey, how many virtual machines do I want? I want one, I want 10, I want 1,000. How many do I want here to be created? And once you say launch, it will create those. Don't worry, new accounts will never get to launch 1,000 instances. We have lot of safe limits put in place so that anyone by mistake shouldn't launch 1,000 machines and then start paying for it, because you remember you have to assign your credit card to create it. So we do have some soft limits in place, so don't worry about uh, putting in a wrong number here, but try to be a bit more cautious of what you're dealing with. Remember, I talked about VPC. Like I told you what is VPC. I showed you VPC. I showed you subnets, like public subnets and private subnets. And there are a lot more information. Like I can join it to a domain. I can have roles. Uh, how does it act when I shut down? So you can read more, but as of now, we'll stick to defaults. There is also optional user data that you can add. I don't have that as of ready as of now, but normally I do have. I'm not able to find it. Sorry, guys. Uh, but typically, what you would have is that you would paste some commands here. And whenever that virtual machine is booting up, there is a format for it in the documentation. But when that machine is booting up, it can execute those things. For example, you want to update that the packages in that machine, or you want to install HTTPD, or you want to do certain activities. You could do those activities while the instance is already booting up. So this happens first time when the instance is booting up. So you can add those commands here. Then you can add storage. Why? Initially, by default, Linux will come with 8 GB, Windows will come with 30 GB. So you can add more volumes if you need, like C drive, D drive, so on and so forth. You can add that. You can check more boxes that do I want to encrypt it? Do I not want to encrypt it? And what kind of storage do I need depending on my basis? Just experimenting, go over with general purpose. Add tags. This is very important because more tags you add, like more name and demo, then I can understand, like when I'm searching, I can search easily, like I want virtual machines that are for production, I want virtual machines that are for testing or for demo purposes. Easier to tag, easier to identify how much you're spending for your prod, for your non-prod activities, and so on and so forth. Security group, we already talked about having a firewall in AWS, right? As a security group. So security groups are stateful firewall rules. Like it's a stateful firewall. Read up or search stateful versus stateless. If you're doing certifications, that question comes up, right? So security group versus knuckles, what's the difference? When do you use what? And how do you use them? You can create a new one or you can use an existing one. Now I have created one as a demo SG. Now what I have done here is, so let's go and say create new one. You can give a name, you can give a description, you can get, I want to access this virtual machine over SSH on port 22. Where do I access it? Anywhere. That means 0.0.0. Like I can access it from anywhere. No, but I want to access it from my own IP address itself. You just say my IP and it will pick up your IP address. Okay. If you want to give custom, like you want to say, and this is in the demo, we'll see if we have time for that. But from this virtual machine to this virtual machine only, then you can also give other security group name here as well. And you can add more rules like HTTP, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just going to stick to a simple one saying demo security group, review and launch, and that's it. And then I launch it. When I'm launching it, it's going to say, do you want to have a key pair? So by default, none of these will have their own username and password, right? Most of them will not have a username password. You will need a key for the initial login. Once you log in, you can set your username password, but you need to have a key. Now it is asking me, do I have this key? Now let me see. Okay, I don't remember. Okay, so I do have this key. So I'm going to use that key. I'm going to say I do have this key. If not, you just create a new key pair and it will download that PM file. and use a launch instance. Okay. As a good chef, what I'm doing is, just to be aware of the time, I'm not going to wait for it to go into running mode, because it's going to take a minute for it to run status check and all that. But you can find a lot more information here, details about security, networking, monitoring. You can find more information on monitoring itself. So we'll look at one instance that is already running, and I will try to connect. If you have to connect to this virtual machine, select this virtual machine, click on connect, and you will find information. If I'm using a SSH client, I can just quickly just copy this command, go here, paste it in my terminal, and say login. Okay, that's it. Now, because I've given my IP address, I have given my IP address, I already did all of that. I'm already logged into that virtual machine, right? And then it's a Linux machine, right? So I do whatever I have to do, like I typically do. So work the same way. Now, a lot of people will ask a lot of questions, and this happens with me a lot. Like, there are other ways, but let's keep it simple. Like, how do I use WinSAP? How do I launch to Windows? The documentation is definitely in depth. You go here, you click on info, and you will find how do I launch using SSH client, how do I connect it, how do I find this information. It's available in documentation. Just follow it to the T, and you should be okay. Okay. So with this, I'm handing over to Suman, because Suman will show you how you can not work with this now. Yeah, it's expired already, but Suman will show you how you can work with Lambda. So over to you, Suman.
Sure, perfect. So thanks, Rohini, for this wonderful demo. And I guess this is something that we all get started with. So when you are new to AWS or just getting started, this is something that you would first use an EC2 instance, which is nothing but I think someone asked in the chat, what is the difference between S3 and EC2. So basically EC2, as Rohini mentioned, it's a virtual machine on the cloud, and you can just create an instance and log in, and it's all yours, right? So you can access it from anywhere. And S3 is from the storage side. You think about S3 as a place where you can just dump your data, but it's more than that. So S3 is one of the services which is almost being used with all other services that we have. And it can get integrated with a lot of other services quite nicely. And you can store any types of data, like text file, movies, data, or anything, any format, right? And it's very, very cost effective. So that's with that being said, let me share my screen first. Okay, I hope my screen is visible, right? Yeah. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible. Okay, yes. So now we are going to see about what Lambda is, and what is serverless computing in general. Okay, so what we have seen so far is about EC2 instances, right, which is a virtual instance or a virtual machine on the cloud. Now, that works pretty amazingly, right? And most of the application, or like most of the enterprise class of our customers or developers, they all use EC2 instances, right? Now, before we get into serverless and Lambda, I just wanted to show you that how we make use of other services using our core services. Like when I say core, they are the fundamental services like VPC for networking, then EC2 for compute, right? So now, if you see here, I'm inside something called AWS Cloud9. So AWS Cloud9 provides you an IDE kind of environment, on the cloud, right? So what you can do is, because I'm going to do all the demo from an Cloud9 instance. So before you freak out how this UI is coming up and from where, I just want to show you how you can create one. So it's basically it will create an EC2 instance in the backend without you creating it. Okay, but on top of it, it will also install and configure your instance with an IDE kind of loop. Okay, so just like how you have seen when Rohini logged into the shell, she got into a Linux shell because she created that Linux instance, right? And then if you want to install something, you can install, configure, whatever you want. It's all about you. But this Cloud9 is pre-configured, okay? And in the backend, it has created an EC2 instance, okay? Okay, so the way that you can create is you can click on create instance and you can give some name. So let's say demo, or let's say let's give some meaningful name. My dev workstation. Okay, and then you can click on next step, and here you define what type of instance you want. Okay, so you can create any types of instance that we have here. Let's say T2 micro, and these are the operating system that you can pick from. Since it's an it's meant for developers who wants to use their virtual instance anywhere for their development work. We don't have all the operating system supports because that is most commonly it won't be of much use, right? So unlike in EC2 you get Windows, Linux, and all of that. So we just get three different types of platform, and you can just click here and go to the next step, and you click on create environment. I'm not going to create that, but this will spin up an EC2 instance in the backend. Okay, so I have already done that, and that's how this dev instance, dev station, this Cloud9 environment is about. And if you see that this is a T3 small EC2 instance, but I have not created that. Cloud9 has created it on my behalf. And if I come to EC2 console, you can see that there is an instance which got created, which is T3 small. Okay, and that's how we use these core services for other services, in the backend. Okay, enough about this Cloud9 session. But the way that it looks like is this. Okay, so when I'm let me just go back. When I'm here, if you click on Open IDE, you will end up getting screen like this. Okay, so here you have an editor. Below that you have a command shell, and on the left hand side you have an explorer kind of window, so you can see through what is happening. Okay, so now coming back to serverless or Lambda. So when you think about Lambda or serverless, you can think of it in a way that you don't care about the infrastructure. Okay, all you care about is your code. So what matters to you is how quickly you can deploy your application, and you don't worry about, you don't want to get into scaling, that how many servers I need to deploy my application and all of that. You don't want to get into that thought process. Okay, and serverless comes into picture in those kind of scenarios. And the other way to think about it is, when you are developing any application, and if you see that your application is, event driven or maybe trigger driven, like your application should run or invoke based on some activity. Okay, in that cases, Lambda comes in handy. Okay, so example, let's say this is a very common example that I give is, let's say you want to convert a document into a PDF file, right? So you go to some website, you upload your document, and it converts into a PDF file. So the application that is running in the backend might be a Lambda function. It's a very apt use case for Lambda function, where the code would be there somewhere. I don't know where, but it's somewhere in the cloud or in AWS. But that code will trigger the moment there is an upload of document. Okay, and then there is no upload, the code will not get executed anywhere. So what happens is, when you provision an EC2 instance or any virtual machine, even if you're not using it, even if your customers are not accessing your website, you are getting paid for, you are getting billed for it, because you are consuming that infrastructure, right? Whereas in Lambda, it's not like that. So based on the request that you get from the customer or your end user, every trigger, it will be charged. So when there is no trigger, so let's say you are sleeping and everybody is sleeping and no one is using your website, you will not be charged. Okay, so it will just trigger only when you invoke something. Now, how to create a Lambda function? You can come to Lambda and you can click on create function. And here there are a couple of options here, and we are going to see a few of them now. But this is the most basic way that you can create a Lambda function. You can create a Lambda function by giving some name, let's say my demo 123, and you can define a runtime. So because now your focus is mostly on the code, so you have to define, or you have to tell Lambda, the code that you are going to provide me is of what runtime, right? So it could be Ruby, Python, Java, whatever it is. So here we see that Python 3.8. So let's select Python 3.8, or you can select any language of your choice, and you can just simply click on create function. Okay. So now what is happening is, now it is creating a function on AWS. but there is no infrastructure deployed for that function. Okay, it will be just getting created. Now, when it will be invoked or when it will be executed, only when there is some trigger. Okay, so now I have not written any code as well, right? So, but when I just create through UI, you will get a boiler code here. So if you come to the editor, double click on this Lambda function, you will see a small boilerplate code. I'll just increase the font size. Okay, so it's a very simple Lambda function where you get a function called Lambda handler, and then it takes two parameters, and it just returns this hello from Lambda. Okay, nothing fancy here. So this event and context, these are two parameters that it expect, and this event is nothing but that trigger. So that trigger could be an upload an image to, or upload a document to S3. It could be a DynamoDB or any database entry. It could be an API gateway entry, whatever. We have lots of different triggers. But basically, this event will contain all the information about that trigger. Okay, and this context is kind of a metadata for that event, where it will give you lots of different information about the event, from when it happens, how it happens, and all of that. So that's how this Lambda function, you can write your code here. Now, if I just save this and deploy, now what is happening is, now this code got deployed, but it is not yet executed now. So what will happen is, when we first invoke, it will get executed. So for any code to execute, you need a runtime, right? So what Lambda will do is, it will create a container for us. And what container? It will try to see what is the runtime that we provided. So we provided a Python 3.8. So it will create a container with that runtime, and it will create that container for us. And now, if you want to test it, I have not added any trigger. We can always add some trigger, but we have not added any trigger. You can always configure some test. Let's say some test. It's a test, test one. And since we are not doing anything inside that code, in the function, if you remember, just printing hello from Lambda, we can give any argument or give anything in the body, or we can leave it. Nothing, doesn't matter. But this is that event, parameter that is having this particular JSON. Okay, so I just click on create. So I've created a test, and I can just click on test. Now, if you see here, you will see in the execution log that this got invoked, and it has printed hello world. Okay, but there's nothing fancy happening here, because it's not a useful code, because I'm not doing anything with that event, and that event was nothing but this test that we have created, right? So nothing much that this particular Lambda function is doing. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you some another Lambda function which will do something meaningful. Okay, but before that, I want to take a pause and just make you feel that what is happening in the backend. So I have just written a code which is a Python code, and I have no clue that what container AWS is using to run my runtime. Okay, in fact, I have not even used any third-party packages. Like, let's say I could have used PyTorch. Let's say I could have used PyTorch. So let's say import PyTorch, right? So I could have used some image library. So let's say import pill. So these are not default libraries. Okay, so for this to install all of these, I had to package that, and then I have to put a requirement.txt file, and then zip it and then deploy it. We cannot do it through UI, but we have to do it programmatically outside this UI. Okay, so but the point is, still you don't have the access to that containers. Okay, so what I thought today that we are going to do is we thought that let's try something which we have recently announced. Okay, so at reInvent 2020, just last year, couple of months back, we started to support container images, so where you can define your own container, and you can bake your code inside a container, and then you can create a Lambda function out of it. So you have full control of the container. Okay, so you have the full control of your runtime. Okay, and it's also very good because you can have more your package can go up to 10 GB with respect to what it was before the 500 MB when you just create a container, a Lambda function like we did a while back. But now you have the full control. Okay, so let's try to build some application using that. So what we'll do is you go to IDE. This is Cloud9, and what we are going to do is we are going to create a simple app, a Node.js app, which will create a random, emails or random PDF files or attachment. You can think of it. Okay, so how we are going to do that? So we are going to create. I'll just explain as I walk you through this particular demo. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll first create a directory. Okay, because we are going to make an image out of it, right? Because we are going to provide this custom image for Lambda. So I'm going to create a directory, and now I'm going to get inside this directory. Okay, so inside that, nothing is there, right? So now I have to write my app. So we have this app, and we are going to create this. So I'm coming here in this folder and right clicking it and creating a new file called app.js. Okay. Now let me double click on this, and we have this code. I'll just copy paste it from. It's a very simple, Node.js app, and it uses the PDF kit package to create that. So similar package you have in even in Python, but it does a fake. It will generate a fake email address. It will generate a fake content, and it will just create a PDF. Okay, that's all that this particular app is is about to do. So let me just close this. We have already created this app. So now what we need to do is this app needs some third-party tools, right? So we are going to install all of these. So let me try to do that. I just press enter so that it takes a default value. So now once I init that, I get that JSON.package, and that would contain all the dependencies. So I just quickly copy paste all, and I will quickly install all these packages. So why we are installing all these packages? Because we are going to create a container with which has all these packages inbuilt, right? So although when you create a Lambda function later on, we know that we can store till 10 GB, but we should not keep on installing unnecessary libraries, because it will defeat the purpose of Lambda, right? Because it is meant for lightweight application where you can just trigger and do its work and just come back, right? So, or destroy the infrastructure. So let's not make this heavy, right? Because that will make your things little slow. Okay, so now that we have installed all the packages, and if I do an LL, you will find that we have the package JSON and the app. Okay, so now we have to create a Docker image for this. So to create a Docker image, we need to create a Docker file, right? So let's create a Docker file. So if you're new to Docker, I mean, there's nothing fancy here, but we are just trying to create an image for our containers. So let's click on this, and this is an empty file we just created, and I'll walk you through what this is. Okay, so I'll just paste it here, and what this is doing is, for any Docker image to build, we need to have some base image, and we are using an Amazon Node.js image, and you can always use your own custom image. But just remember that this is going to be used by Lambda, so we have some dependencies, some packages and configurations that the image should have. If you are doing it completely custom, like let's say not Amazon or this Lambda Node.js image, but let's say Alpine Linux or anything of that sort, which people generally use, in that case you have to configure that in a certain way, right? So we don't want to waste that time. So for us, this is a simple app. We are just using Amazon default image for Node.js. And then we are saying that copy this Node.js file and package files, all the files into that image, and we will do that installation. And this is the CMD. This is a application which it will run once anyone creates or once Lambda creates an application using this particular image, okay, or a container using this particular image. Okay, so we are done with the Docker file. We're just closing this, and now it's time to build that. Okay, so let's quickly build this. It's a simple Docker build command. and it will take a couple of minutes. Okay, so it got successfully created. So now the Docker image is created, but it is still local to this Cloud9 instance, right? And before we go ahead to deploy it for our and use it in our container, let's try to test it locally. Okay, so I just use Docker run, and it is running in port 8080. So what we can do is we can open another shell, okay, and do this curl so that we can see that if the status code is 200 or not. Okay, so it is sending some garbage value because it's not garbage, it's encoded, but this is the body of that attachment, and we are going to see that PDF attachment in some time. But this is the status code is 200. That means the app is working fine. Now we can use this use this image for to be used by our Lambda function. Okay, so now this container is, or this image is still in this particular instance. Okay, so I already created this image, but now this image to be used for creating any Lambda function, I need to push that image to some repository, right? So we are going to use ECR, that is a service from our side, where you can put all your images in AWS. You can always use a Docker Hub, but we are going to use ECR. So to do so, first we have to create an ECR repository. But before we create, let me show you ECR. That's a container registry. It's just like how Docker Hub is. We have we have just two repositories, and now we are going to create one repository. Okay, and the name of the repository is random letters 1. So let me just click enter, and we got created this random letter 1. If you go back to the UI, refresh, you'll see that there is a random letter 1, but there is no images there, right? So we need to now push the image here. So let's go back, and we'll just create a tag before we push it. So it's just like the this latest tag, and we are just tagging this with my repository ID. So this is this whole link or URL. Or it's not a URL. This whole is the address of the repository. Okay, this is the account number, AWS account number, and the the region that ECR is, and the image name. Okay, so now I have tagged it. So all I have to do is I have to push that. For that, I have to first log in. So this is a command, AWS ECR get login credentials. So it just it's not, what it does is basically it just creates the login. It just logged into your ECR repository, and then you can just push it. Okay, so I'm just pushing it. So now what is happening is I've already logged into my ECR service in my account, and now I'm going to push that image into that repository. Okay, so let's wait for a couple of seconds. It should be done. So once this image is there on AWS under the ECR in my repository, then I can use a Lambda function to use this particular image. Okay, so now if I just refresh, you will see that there is an image which we have just pushed. Okay, so this is at 1250. So now we are done, with the image creation, right? So image pushing the image to our repository. Now, if I come to my container, Lambda function, and click on create a function using a container image, I can do so. Okay, so let's see this. So now let's give some app name, function name. So let's say my demo function using container. And here I have to give the URL for the container. So let's browse, and here I can see that now my image is showing up, random letters 1, and we can see that there is the latest one which got pushed just 1 minute back. Let's select this image, and we don't have to do anything, and let's create this function. So what is happening now is now Lambda is not going to use the container or the image which it was using before when we used that hello world program, right? Now it is using this particular image to it's going to use this particular image to create a container once we invoke, right? So now it is still not invoking, right? So there is no container is getting created at the backend, but a function is getting created using this image. Okay, and it will be invoked only when we trigger something, only when we have some trigger. This will create a container using this particular image. Okay, so now if you come here, there is no trigger, we have not added any trigger, and you cannot see the code here in the in the editor. And the reason being is we have baked that code inside this image, so we won't be able to see or edit the code here. Okay, so now how we can trigger that. So we are going to use API gateway. So API gateway is one of the service which people in the web development world use randomly, right? So the simplest way that you can think about API gateway is a managed service for all your application to manage their endpoints, right? So you may have a database, you may have a front end, but how you are going to expose that to your application or your end customers, you can always use an API gateway. Okay, so it will give you a endpoint. You can create a REST endpoint, you can create an HTTP endpoint, you can create any kind of endpoint, and you can deploy your app behind. So API gateway is kind of the front end, and you have all the services working in the back end, right? And API gateway will talk to all of your service on your behalf, and it can scale as well. So I mean, API gateways are quite an exhaustive topic, so we can have some session. Even we have API gateway version 2, so we can have a session on that later on. But what we are going to do is we are going to create a very simple API. Okay, so let's create an API. Okay, and we are going to have an open security. It's not a good practice, but just for this demo, we are going to delete that. Let's add create. Okay, so now if you see, there's the endpoint which got created, and now if I click on this, so now if you noticed, it took some amount of time to generate that PDF, right? Because this is the first time that invocation happened and it created the container. If I just click on next again, it will create a PDF very quickly, because now the container is up, right? So there's something that cold start or hot, warm start that we talk about. But now if you keep on clicking, every time that code is getting triggered, and I'm getting new PDF. So now if I just open this PDF, you will see that there's a random letter. If I click another PDF, they all are random letters, okay, with different addresses. Okay, so that's how you can deploy your application using a container. And one of the best use of this is you have the full control of that container, right, for that image. So if you have noticed, when we first created this Lambda function, and we searched for Python 3.8, although we have Python 3.9. So let's say you want to use Python 3.9. There is always a way to do so by, in the code itself, you say that install Python 3.9 and then get started with that. But imagine that you have the flexibility now with the container. You can always create a container with 3.9 and then use that for your Lambda function. Okay, so this is one way that you can create container. This is a very brand new feature set within Lambda. Make use of that if you are getting started, because most of the people use Docker and containers these days. So using that with container would always be a good thing, and something good that you can always explore. So with that, I'll hold for some questions. I have not seen if you have any questions.
I haven't seen questions, but let's do this. Let's move forward to the presentation and we'll see if the questions come in. And simulate on this, because your analytics and machine learning stuff, we will soon have that. So that was Suman talking about a lot of things in the compute world. From I showed you EC2, Suman showed you Lambda, Suman also showed you how to work with containers and with Lambda itself. And you can also use the same container images with ECS or EKS. Quickly, I want to also give you quick insights, and I've already told you what is more to come. Just stay tuned, and listen to it and have questions ready. We are definitely happy to answer a lot more questions here. So we added few things because a lot of people asking that. So stay tuned. So if you have to, now this was EC2 or this was Lambda, right? But now if you have to think from a customer's perspective, a customer would be hosting, for example, a database like MySQL, right? And what we see from a lot of AWS customers is that they are hosting MySQL again and again and again and again on an EC2 instance, right? Like take a virtual machine, install MySQL, do all these activities, right? The ones you can see on the slide. They do all these activities again and again whenever they have to have a MySQL database, right? So what customers said it, can you not make it easy for us? Can you not give us some managed services which will make our lives easy? We only have to worry about schema design or how our database is going to look like, how's the data going to be, how it's going to be secure. Can you take care of everything else for us? And that's where a lot of these managed services from AWS take care of. So this is an example of a database service, but a lot of these managed services that on the AWS platform are what we mean by managed services. So AWS will take care of the failover, the backup recovery, the resiliency, the redundancy of that service, how they're going to host that data, so that a lot of best practices are already inbuilt for you. All you have to worry about is your data, your design, your architecture, or application architecture, data architecture. You have to worry about all of those things on this platform. So you will say, what are the databases on this platform? Many databases. So there are relational databases on the platform. There's key value databases, document store, in-memory caches. There are graph databases as well, and few other databases supported on the AWS platform. Now, these are managed services. If you find that AWS doesn't support or doesn't have a managed service for a database you need, you always have the option of creating a virtual machine, installing your own database on it, and connecting it to your application, right? So AWS as a platform is very flexible. So you can do whatever you need on the AWS platform as long as it's not illegal or something wrong, a crime that you're doing on the platform. Otherwise, it's an open platform that you can definitely work with. Now, the next couple of slides, I will ask Suman to do it because I would love to hear him talk about analytics and machine learning. So, Suman, can you come on board and talk about this, please?
Yeah, sure. So we have lots of services. I guess a few people also asked about data analytics and machine learning. So when you think about our data platform in general, right? So it covers the storage options, the analytics, database, and machine learning. We have plethora of services. Okay, and it's not like all services that you would need for your application or for your work, but you need to pick the right one. Okay, so now let's say if I have to pick up a few of the services with its use case, maybe Redshift, right? So Redshift is used for analytics, for data warehousing, where data are stored in a columnar format for analytics and for take some business different decisions. So that is about Redshift. And then if you want to use an ad hoc query on some data which is stored in S3, you can use Athena with Glue, right? So you don't have to create a database for that matter. All you have to do is you have to just say, hey, this is my S3 bucket and this is my file. Can I use some SQL query to query my data, which is not in a tabular format, not in a structured format, but can I use it? Yes, you can use it using Athena. So Athena with Glue is typically used for ad hoc queries, not for general queries always, right? So because for that you have different services. Then for from database side, you already know there are Aurora, RDS. These are relational databases with which has a defined schema. It's just like any SQL, right? If you have used Oracle or any of these kind of software or databases, it is similar to that. So it's a very structured relational databases. In fact. Typically, people used to say that relational databases or SQL is not scalable like horizontally. You can just scale vertically, where you can keep on adding storage and storage, in your instance. But that is not true. Now we have Aurora, which can scale, horizontally as well. I guess it came in 2018, but these days it's not very easy to differentiate whether you need a SQL or a NoSQL database, because the advancement of the technology is so much that you can even do OLTP kind of application, run OLTP kind of application, like transactional based application on DynamoDB. Okay, so it's fast, although it's not that fast with respect to other relational databases. But when you think about capacity or the scale and performance, that trade-off makes you compare to go to NoSQL as well. You don't have to rigidly stick to SQL based databases. Then we have blockchain, which is a kind of a very new thing. A lot of people are these days are working. So we have not explored. I myself have not checked it, but yeah, we do have a blockchain managed service which you can look into. I guess it was introduced last year at reInvent. Right, so that is about the database, blockchain, and analytics. And one of the important thing in analytics is Kinesis, which I just missed out. So that is used for online streaming. So when you have lots of data coming in from various sources, you can use Kinesis. And there are Kinesis is not one single service. It's a service which has multiple services within, right? So you have Kinesis for data, you have video, and a lot of other things. So we even have Firehose, so which is a serverless offering for data analytics. So you can use Kinesis when you want to manage your data in the form of, like, you just know that where are the different sources, but you don't want to manage it separately. You can use Kinesis in the front, and it can ingest all the data, and you can tell Kinesis what you want to do with that data, right? You can tell Kinesis, okay, once you get the data, do some analysis, and because your business team is going to take a look into that, for some business driven decision, that what data is coming and what action we should take. And after that, you can tell Kinesis what I have to do with that data. So Kinesis can send the data to S3, it can send that data to DynamoDB, wherever it is, right? So Kinesis is something that you can look into. And now in terms of machine learning, we have various services at different layers. We call it. I was talking to Rohini, and we were saying that the way that we are launching our services, we might need 2 slides just to put all the icons of all the services, right? So if you notice, machine learning at AWS, you will see that over the period of time, we have added more and more AI-based services. And the reason being is machine learning is tough. So machine learning is tough in the sense it's not like you don't have resources. We do have engineers around, but the tough in the sense is it's a lot of work. You need to get the data, prepare the data, and then you get the model, and then you deploy the model, and with the hope that the model will work. Right, so that's why what we recommend to customers is, if you want to make use of machine learning, try to see that if your problem can be solved using any of our managed service or not. So when I say managed service, these all are all AI-based services which you see on the top. So we have services for video, we have services for image, we have service for speech, and all of that, right? So these are high-level API-based services where you don't have to manage the infrastructure. You don't have to train the model, deploy the model. All you have to do is you have to just call those respective API within your application. Okay, so let's say if you want to do let's say content moderation, right? So you can just use the application like Amazon recognition, or you have to read the text from an image, you can use Amazon recognition. Or you want to use, let's say, language translation from English to Hindi or Hindi to Bengali, you can just use Amazon Translate to do that. So basically, all you have to do is call API and you are done, right? So these are the AI-based services. And in the middle there, we have SageMaker, which is the mother of all the services in AWS for machine learning standpoint, where you can train your model, deploy your model, and also build your model, right? So basically, this is the layer where most of the data scientists or engineers will work on if you want to develop something of your own. Okay, so we have lots of various things. So if you're into deep learning, you can visualize each and every layer of a CNN network, right? So, and you can actually see, how the weight matrices are going, and which neuron is getting fired. So there are a lot of amazing things that are there in SageMaker, which you may like to look into. And there is one of the my favorite is AutoML, which what it will do is, you can give your data and you can just tell SageMaker to decide. It's very good for your learning as well. What you can do is you can just give your data and you can say that, okay, this is the data and I want to predict this. Okay, and SageMaker will internally create, understand and create different models with different hyperparameters, and it will tell you that, hey, I feel that this is a regression problem and this is the software function that you should use, and this is the score that you should use, maybe F1 score. And then you can see, understand that whether I would have done the same thing or not. So it's very good for a counter training, that how machine thinks and how you think. So that is something that you can use, where SageMaker helps you to build a model automatically. It's like this machine learning for machine learning. It's you can think of it at that way. And the bottom layer is the framework and infrastructure. So if you have noticed, when Rohini created that instance, she selected Linux instance, right? So let's say you are a data scientist or researcher, but you want to use a virtual machine for deep learning, right? So there you could have searched deep learning AMIs. So there you will get all the instances with all the deep learning, popular deep learning packages installed, like Gluon, PyTorch, Keras, and etc. And they all will have GPU instances, within that instances. So all you have to do is you create that instance and then SSH to that, just like how Rohini logged into that system. And then the difference would be, you would not only get the shell, but you will also get all the different virtual environments. So you can go and just activate that PyTorch virtual environment and get started with it. You can go and activate the Keras virtual environment and get started with this. And you have full control over the GPUs and the other resources. So that's a great place if you know that you just need an infrastructure, you just need a GPU and a CPU and lots of memory. That's all. And you have your team and your company have the resource to build on top of it. Feel free to go ahead and use any of our services at the infrastructure side. One small thing that I would like to highlight is inferentia and elastic inference, because most of the machine learning problems, we have seen that 90% of the cost is taken care by, is for our inference, because model training takes a lot of time and a lot of money, because the training might take a couple of weeks. But once that is done, you don't use that, right? Because the next model might you might retrain after a couple of weeks or months, right? So your business actually use your model for inference, right? So, and there is a lot of cost involved in inference. Okay, so now if you want to cut down that cost, you may like to use elastic inference, where you can use a simple instance with a GPU attached to it on demand. So it's a fraction of cost that you can get your inference done at very lightning speed with respect to what you would have got if you have used an instance with GPU for inference. Okay, so elastic inference is something that you can have a look. And lastly, there is some, if you are into semiconductor or chipset, or if you have worked in companies like Broadcom or Qualcomm, you might be doing a lot of things around VLSI or FPGA or chipset development, right? So you may like to use our FPGA based systems. So these are the high level overview of our machine learning stack, starting from bottom, which is mostly for data researchers or data scientists. And then once you go up, ML services, this is for data scientists who knows a lot about machine learning, but they don't want to care about the infrastructure. And then we have the AI based services, who do not have to know anything about machine learning, but they are the just code developers for their company, or they're just application developers, but they want to integrate AI within their application. So there you will use any of these services. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Suman. So I know there's a lot of information, but this was just quick overview. So stay tuned. Like this is just to get you started or understand what is cloud and how vast it is. Just to give you an understanding that it's not just going to be one service or one thing you're going to learn and you're going to know cloud. That's why I said initially that you need to know what you want to do and add a cloud as a flavor into it, because there's lots more that every one of us can do with cloud. Now, while we're talking about data, there is few things. One last thing before we go into training certification, we have to talk about security, because you're going to be working with a lot of companies that are going to take security very, very seriously, right? And when they're working with cloud, you have to be serious about security. So there is a shared responsibility or shared security responsibility model that you have to know. And if you're going to give any certifications, you should know about shared responsibility model. So what does that mean? AWS is responsible for the cloud. AWS is responsible for the compute. AWS is responsible for the storage. The people who are sitting there, the security that is there at the data center, from there till a lot of these services that we saw, like EC2, Lambda, for security of these services, AWS takes care of. You as a customer or you as a person who's using AWS should be worried or should take care of your data, of whatever you're putting on the AWS platform. Anything on beyond the operating system level will be your responsibility. This changes a little bit for the managed services, where in managed services you are responsible for the data and how you secure that data. Do you do encryption at rest and transit and so on and so forth? Now you would say, why is AWS doing that? Why can't they take the responsibility? It's because every customer is different. We have customers who are like students who are least bothered about security because there's nothing to secure about. To enterprises who have data that has to be secure or their entire business will fail, right? So we have a wide range of customers for whom security matters differently. So we give tools, we give features, we give products that customers can use to ensure that their security is good as per their standards, but it's on the customer to use these products and do that on the platform. So that's the flexibility customers have to choose what they want to ensure that they're secure. And if AWS doesn't have that product, I always told you, right, there's a marketplace, customers can go and buy it there. So a lot of theory today. So let's do one thing. I'm just going to skip this slide. We'll talk about learning. So we quickly want to talk about two things. One is training, one is certifications, and we want to also give you some tips and tricks towards the end. So if you have more questions, feel free to add. So I'll quickly cover this, and Suman, feel free to add anything if I've missed. The first thing is training, right? How do I get started? Like a lot of people will say, I'm a developer. How do I get started? Where is the first thing I should go? I think for me, I think you should check out something called as ramp up guides. So just search for AWS ramp up guides. You will find a nice ramp up guide, a step by step, like where do you learn the fundamentals from, what should be your first thing to look for as a developer or as an architect or as a machine learning person or as a containers or serverless kind of a person. So check this ramp up guide to start with. It's a very good way to find links where the information is in a methodical way. And second thing is do AWS certification. Like I mentioned, a lot of people learn when they have an exam, they will only study for the exam, right? So a lot of us do that. So if you're that person, book yourself a certification and then work backwards. Now, when you have to look for certification, start with the foundational. If you're very, very new to cloud and the fundamentals that we talked about, so start with cloud practitioner. Maybe you don't want to give the exam, but at least study for the cloud practitioner exam and then move to associate and then professional. Or if you are a professional, you want to start directly with a professional. And also you can look at certain security certifications. There is no prerequisite that for doing a professional you should have an exam certified for associate. There is no prerequisite. From a training perspective, follow this. From a certification perspective, depends on you. Do you want to do associate or do you want to do professional directly? Suman, you want to add anything I've missed for training and certification?
No, that's covers it all. But just one small note on what Rohini mentioned is you can always start with a foundation, the cloud practitioner, even if you don't write the exam, doesn't matter. But you can always go through the training process. There are enough number of resources available. If you're a student, you can always take free resources which are available on the internet. But just start from there. But one important thing that often works pretty well is initially you may plan to write some exam, but you keep on deferring it, and it end up nowhere, right? So it's better that you spend a couple of months for studying, and then just schedule the exam date, so maybe after 6 months or 7 months, so that you know that you have something to write. And as Rohini mentioned, it's not more about the certification, the actual certificate that you get, but the learning process is enormous, especially for the professional and specialist. It's amazing. I've gone through one of those certification. So there are a lot of things that you will discover that you felt that you already knew about. Okay, so that is we strongly recommend you to follow this track, and you can write the exam whenever you feel like. I'm not a very big fan of certification, but this is an exception, which I've seen from the industry, that AWS based certified professionals are pretty much in demand. So it's demand in the sense, not only from job market, but people actually care about these credentials very strongly. I have done bunch of certification in my past, but no one cares. Even I do not remember that what that certification is, but I just wrote it. But this particular certification has a lot of credibility. Okay, so you will find a lot of good professionals out there who are certified, and people have very high regard for them. So your notion should be for learning, but do keep in mind that you can do some certification to showcase your credibility to your potential employers, or for your own business.
Definitely, definitely. And a lot of you would ask, like, where do I get started? Start with the ramp up guide, because there are a lot of free trainings and links there available. A lot of third party training institutes also give a lot of offers. So just keep a lookout for a lot of these offers, and they have curated courses for these certifications as well. So you may want to just sign up for those, and a lot of good information available there, right? We already have covered user groups, so I'm not going to cover that again here. Uh, in the initial session, I think Parth talked about AWS events. So do go to AWS events, check out AWS events. A lot of these are free. Most of these are free. So you can sign them up, online conferences. Even if you don't sign up, watch the conference that day. There's a lot of content on the AWS YouTube channel or the AWS events YouTube channel. You can just keep it in the back end at 2x speed, and that's how we also learn as well. Just check out few demos, but do lots of hands-on. Don't just do certifications for the sake of it. And last but not the least slide, we try to keep this slide. We just added this recently. How do you get started with AWS? Know your basics. We have already covered that. Start with the project, know your fundamentals, know your foundations. There's lots to learn. So start with the basics itself. Know your area that you would love to do. You're a developer, you're a machine learning person, you're into DevOps. Pick that area and then add cloud as a complement to it. Don't replace everything that you already know with cloud. That will not take you anywhere. Lots of hands-on practice, lots of projects. Do more hands-on, more than theory any day. Listening to us is good, but if you don't go and practice it or check it out, it's not going to stick here. Lots of hackathons. There are free hackathons, a lot of workshops, internship, mentorships. Everything's happening, and mostly everything is happening online as of today. So if you're one of those places where you don't get a lot of opportunity outside of your college, find these things online and take part. Even if you attend like 20% of a particular hackathon or workshop, you're definitely going to learn a lot out of that. Document whatever you learn. A lot of us here are sharing knowledge that is quite basic for a lot of us, but it may be something new for you, right? Similarly, something that you know may be quite basic for you, but it's something new for someone else, right? So technology is changing. A lot of people are learning a lot of different things. Document. Create your own blog site, create your own YouTube channel, create your own GitHub page, whatever works for you. Do that and be out there. A lot of people appreciate people who are able to give back to the community, like how we are giving back to the community. You can do that as well, even with small tasks that you've been doing. Next, for your careers, always remember to use networking. Social media is always going to be a big help. Follow a lot of experts, like follow me, Suman, a lot of heroes we have talked about, the community leaders. Follow people everywhere. Ask for help. No one's going to come and ask you, Beta, do you need help? you have to ask for help, and if you don't get it from one place, go and knock another door, but ask for help. Use networking for your benefit. Don't just wait for people to come with a job offer to you. You have to be out there. I know for some people it's difficult because they are introverts, but come on, it's an online world. Virtually you can hide in your house in a pajama but still look fun on the outside, right? And definitely join the user groups, join the communities, and do your lots of training and certification. I'll stop now because I do want to give chance to Suman and Prithvi to add in if I've missed anything.
Yeah, so I guess this is very important. You know what Rohini just mentioned, right? So you have to network with other people and do lots of hands-on. And one call out that I would strongly recommend, because I see that a lot of people are from university and college. Don't feel that you will start learning about AWS once you get into a job, or once someone comes to you for. I mean, the way that you should pursue is you know take this opportunity to get to the next level. So let's take an example, like Rohini mentioned initially about VPC networking, other stuff, right? Those are very core components, right? So I'm very sure that in the college you must be having networking subject, right? You must be learning about classes of addresses, cider, and all of that. So most of the people will learn that. So what you should do is you learn that and then try to see how that works in AWS, and that will give you an advantage with respect to others. It's not a rat race that you need to always prove that you are better, but it's for your own good sake, right? And then come back to us. So you can just reach out to Rohini, Prithvi, Saurav, whosoever, right? And you want to say that, hey, I just learned about different classes of network. I want to share it with everyone. You come and host a meetup where you can discuss about those network fundamentals, and just show it how it works in AWS. And even if you don't know about AWS how it works, someone else will jump in and just take that session from that point onwards, so that as an end user or as a student, whoever joins, they can learn a lot, which will be useful in their college, in their education or studies, as well as to you get to the next level. So always complement your, because see, AWS or any technology for that matter is not born out of the blue, right? It's all based on the concepts that we all learn in college or universities, right? So since you are from university or a fresh graduate, right, try to leverage this this kind of platform, like meetups and hackathons especially, and workshops, to take your learning to the next level before someone comes and asks you what you have done, right? So I think that's a great opportunity for every one of us.
Definitely. Like mobile phones today didn't come like in one day, right? There were telephones and then there were cameras and whatnot. And today we see an innovation. Maybe our future, like already we have it in our watches, but maybe the future generation will actually see them in their glasses and whatnot. So you as a generation are gonna pick these things much, much faster than the older generations, because now you are born with this knowledge. Like cloud is normal for a lot of us, so I know we don't have to explain cloud, but a lot of times the messaging is diluted, and you need to know your basics. Like go back, learn your basics, and then you will be obviously, like, going to be flying. So that's us. I know it was a longer session than we discussed, but we wanted to cover a lot of things that some of you were interested in. Feel free to reach out to us via these mediums. Go to my YouTube channel and click subscribe. And over to you, Prithvi.
Yeah. So thank you, Suman and Rohini, for joining us and for this a great demo and how to get started with the AWS. So I would like to just wrap up with a few things that thanks to the audience that who have joined this, and thank you, Parth, thank you, uh, Saurav, Raghuvanshi, and I would also like to say that I would also like to tell you or inform you about that we have one more community, we have one more user group. We are starting in this. We are starting in Dehradun, which will be led by Saurav. So please join us in that user group too in upcoming events. So thanks for being with this being with us in this event. And so let's uh, let's end up with this broadcast. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks
Let's
for
end.
having. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.